everybody. It's Abdullah, Konte, and Skylar Nelson of Win Sports, and we're here for another episode just to talk about the new changes in DC. Also talking about the rough year that we experienced covering this team. But hopefully, new things are to come. Skylar, what's going on with you? How you been?
I've been good. I'm enjoying the holiday, the break. Happy New Year, guys. I've been good, except, today, if you have Verizon Wireless, your phone is off.
People were
So,
struggling. Yeah, people were
use the
struggling.
internet, if you
Hmm.
can. But yeah, today was a good day. Got to go to the press conference for the new Howard University football coach, got to meet some new people, meet some existing staff members. So it was a good day, despite my phone being off.
Yeah, no, I
But
feel that. Yeah, I
yeah,
had the VIP access, so my phone didn't get cut off or
whatever.
nothing. I'm kidding, but I mean,
Whatever. If it hasn't been cut off now,
yeah,
it will
I
be.
might jinx myself. I mean, well, one, I mean, that's good to know. I mean, for those who don't know, we cover everything, and we
Hmm.
talk a lot about Commanders on this pod so far. But obviously, as the season is ending, we're going to be doing some different things, and we'll talk about that more towards the end of the video. But
Hmm.
obviously, we're excited about Howard having a new coach, see what direction that they're going to go.
Yes.
But before we get into a little bit of that, let's obviously talk about the team here, the Commanders, and how they did. I mean, obviously, it was night and day. Comparison to the last 2 years. Hey, Skylar's been covering the team for the last 2 seasons. I've been covering the team for this was my fifth season. So, Skylar was spoiled last year to cover a team that went to the NFC Championship game. So, how was your experience this year in comparison?
I mean, this year wasn't what anybody expected. I mean,
Hmm.
from the talks from last year, nobody was expecting this team to be 5-12. When I mean no one, I mean no one, not even the media. So,
Hmm.
it was a different experience. I mean, it was kind of from like a human perspective. I mean, it's heartbreaking to see the players down and
Yeah.
to not be the joyful selves and expressing their personalities like they always do. But at the same
Yeah.
time, teams go through ups and downs. It's just what comes with sports, and I'm blessed to be able to cover them for a second year in a row. But it is what it is. The season is over, but at the end of the day, we're still looking at a good team. We're still looking at a team that is looking to have a revival. Not necessarily, no team wants a
Yeah.
losing season.
Of
But
course. Yeah.
things happen for a reason.
They do.
I'm a firm believer that things happen for a reason. So, maybe this was just the wake up call that they needed before they have to head into this year. There's
Well,
just some things.
yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm a firm believer of things happen for a reason also, which is why,
Hmm.
when things happen like, the next thing I want to talk about, ultimately I'm just kind of like, we'll just see what happens. We'll see where it goes. And
Yeah.
so the biggest thing, I mean, look, we kind of knew that Joe Witt was probably going to get let go after he got demoted. So we don't really have to talk
Yeah.
about that. I mean, I think we both agree that Joe Witt it was a good guy. And I think we all wished it would have worked out well. But
Hmm.
we saw a lot of regression in the players, but the bigger one was Cliff, and them
Yeah.
deciding to go separate ways. And it seems like it was more of like a mutual, amicable kind of split. But were
Yeah.
you surprised by that? Like, I mean, when you heard the news, was that very surprising to you?
To be honest, no. I mean, this year, everybody to a certain degree, not even just this year, but even last year, there were rumors going around of Cliff
Mm,
possibly interviewing, although he wouldn't admit it, obviously. There were some rumors even last year, despite the winning season 12-5 and heading to the NFC Championship, that Cliff was interviewing for head coaching jobs.
mm-hmm.
Did it happen? Was it a thing? We didn't specifically know or weren't sure on it, but there were some rumors flying around. Obviously, this year, with it being a losing season, and then also too, we've gotten to see some of the second year players, on the rise, the changes that they claimed were going to be the best changes for this team. We got to see the inside view, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say for this year, I wasn't necessarily surprised that Cliff was interviewing for head coaching jobs because also too there was some questioning, even I did in terms of his play calling between the run game and the passing game.
Yeah.
There were too many games that I watched where you're in the red zone, maybe, well, you use the run game to get to the red zone, And then when you get to the red zone,
Yeah.
you pass a couple times,
That
incomplete
Minnesota game,
passes,
yeah, the Minnesota
no
game in
score.
particular, yeah, like I mean, they didn't score a point in that, but like ultimately,
Hmm.
like you said, like that game alone was one where they marched down the field and got to the 1 yard line with C-Rod and like just didn't decide not to run it
Yes.
anymore. So, sorry, continue. I kind of cut you off
Yeah,
there,
and
but
you're talking about a team that's top three in the NFL for rushing. So it's
hmm
like, why not utilize that skill? Although there were some worries about Bill, he had great stints throughout the season, but he was very young. There were
hmm
worries about him. They didn't have Austin. They traded off B Rob. We talked about that, but this was the year to explore. Jeremy McNichols didn't have a bad year.
hmm
They used him a little bit more. He had a couple good games, and then C Rob was in the mix, and then they wanted to utilize Bill. So it was like, you know, we know that the run game works. I think
yeah,
everybody can agree that we know that the run game works. It's like, why are you not utilizing it? And there was some
yeah,
point where I was like, DQ is too nice,
yeah,
because if I was him, I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, what's
yeah.
going on?
And
What's the
maybe that
thought
was
behind it?
happening. Yeah, maybe that was happening behind the scenes because like we just
Yeah,
don't know. And I think DQ is one of these people who would never throw his guys under their bus. So like if there
yeah,
is some complications or disagreements, we're probably not going to hear about it. And so, obviously I'm not going to really divulge more into what you said because I agree with everything you kind of said.
hmm,
I was kind of skeptical about the play calling, but it's also easy to say that when you're losing games. Like if they would have won games, it
yes,
would have been like whatever because it probably was pretty similar to the way it was last year. And I think we could jump into the numbers to see that. But I do think that when he was calling games for Mariota versus Jaden, there was also a difference. Like they ran the ball a little bit more and a little bit more efficiently
hmm,
to take the pressure off Mariota. But I think they kind of, when Jaden was in, it was like let Jaden do his thing, which is understandable. He played very much like a superhero type of role last
yes,
year, and I think they tried to kind of do the same thing this year, and it just didn't work out. And
yeah,
they need to be
I
better
agree to
maybe
that.
about that. Yeah, and I think that that's one of the things they need to establish is maybe getting some more help on the run game side because I think there was a reason why they didn't play Bill that much. I don't know exactly what it was. I think it might have been maybe his vision wasn't the best at the beginning of the year. It was clear he did much better at the end of the year, and maybe it
Yeah,
was also the ability to the pass block. I don't know, but essentially, it was just weird, and so them making that change was not super surprising to me because I agree. I think it was more of a lot of people had said that Cliff might get head coaching opportunities. So if they're not really thrilled and he's like, I can go be a head coach, like why not just
yeah,
split off? And so, I think we wish Cliff the best also. And
yeah, we do.
what do you think about Blau? I mean, my thing is that there was a talk about Mike McDaniel potentially interviewing here. I don't think they wanted to wait and lose out on Blau because Blau was being interviewed or was potentially going to interview for the Lions job. So, what do you think? I mean, it's risky. Like, are you concerned?
Hmm.
Do you think it's going to be okay? Like, I mean, this guy hasn't called anything. He hasn't been a coach for any position. He's been an assistant quarterbacks coach, but
Hmm.
also he, the way people talk about him, they rave about him. So, like, what's your thought? Like, are you excited? Are you nervous? What do you think?
Um, I personally think that Blau, this can go either way. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's young. He had, based on, kind of the vibes that I was getting, in the last week of, I would say, there before the locker room clean out.
Mm-hmm.
The vibes that I was getting about Blau was that, he was there, he was helpful, he was in the team's revival stage. And one thing that I've noticed about DQ over the last 2 years is he's going to go with close people that he trusts, but he's also going to go with someone who understands the team's connection and the team culture between
Yeah.
players and coaches. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like to some degree, David Blau gives that. And, with, Cliff Kingsbury, being questionable, and then the former QB coach, taking a job at USC, right?
No, Stanford.
Oh,
Tavita
Stanford,
Pritchard. Yeah.
Stanford.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Yeah.
of USC
Yeah.
because I'm
Sorry.
thinking about college football.
Yeah. Yeah.
But him taking a job at Stanford, just seeing all of that play out, I feel like Blau was kind of, in consideration because it just seemed like that him and DQ were having those conversations
Mm-hmm.
and going out the way. So, I do feel like, this decision, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. It can go either way.
It
Obviously, he
can.
has a he has a great relationship with Jaden. He's been able to, talk with the wide receivers core. He's been able to,
Hmm.
have those offense, connections already.
Yeah,
So,
like he's already in the building, so like it's nice
yeah.
to have him there. You know, he DQ better be right because if he's wrong, this could
Hmm.
cost him his job. That's my
Yeah.
concern. Because I actually am very excited about seeing what Blau can do
Hmm.
because it sounds like people
Yeah.
really really trust this guy, and if he's having this meteoric rise, maybe he is that guy. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. The only thing I'm worried about is that if he does not perform in 1 year, which is kind of hard to do. I mean, he's
Yeah.
not had his own playbook. He hasn't called plays before, so he has to
Hmm.
get it right away, or at least show progress right away. Because if he doesn't, that could get DQ fired, and if DQ fired, then
Yeah.
that means everybody could be fired. So
And
like,
plus, yeah. And
so it's
not
like
even
it's
like,
just you got to hope that it just
hmm
works out from the beginning. You know what I mean? And so,
yeah.
um,
And plus, too, we're just in a new era within the NFL. I
yeah,
mean, over the last couple weeks, we've seen coaches getting let go, fired, stepping down. It's mostly coaches on the older side, coaches that
yeah.
have been in this league for so long,
Hmm.
right? Or who have been with a certain team for a great amount of seasons. I
Yeah, and,
think.
and and DQ was on the hot seat. He's already been a head
Hmm.
coach and got fired from that. Like
Hmm.
he probably won't get another opportunity. So
Yeah.
this is a really big like risky move. And if it works out, he's going to look like a genius. But
Yes.
ultimately, if it doesn't, it's just man, you put your faith in a
Hmm.
30-year-old who has no experience. Which I mean, people have to get experience sometime, right? Like we all
Yeah.
know all those times where you're looking for jobs and they're like, you need experience. You're like, I don't have any. How do I get some if no one's going to hire me? So
Right.
somebody has to give him that chance. So I think they're giving him that chance. It is a risky move, but I'm excited for it. But
Yeah.
um,
It's great to see
yeah,
young coaches stepping into
bingo. Yeah,
large roles and to see what they can offer. I
yeah.
think for me, it's, even the littlest of coaches, especially an assistant coach for the quarterback group, which is one of the most important groups for any
Hmm.
team,
Hmm.
is that, although you're not calling plays, there may be some ideas there where it's like, okay, DQ was probably like, we needed that during the
Hmm.
season.
Hmm.
So, I am excited to see, but this also understand that this can go either way,
It really
right?
can. It really can. It's a risky move, and I'm excited. I mean, there needed to be change. The one thing I'm positive about is that there's going to be change from next year because what we saw
Yes.
this year, that was probably one of the worst parts of it. Was like halfway through the year, we're like something needs to change, and nothing was really
Hmm.
changing. And I actually think if we go to the defensive side, which is a good segue,
Hmm.
the defense took forever to make a change. Like they should have done something with the Joe Witt not calling the plays even earlier
Right.
because after so many games of them just not being able to do anything, something needed to change. So you live in Baltimore. You've been hearing a lot about Brian Flores at Baltimore. Interviewing for a head coaching job. The news came out today that he's interviewing for the head, or excuse me, the defensive coordinator position here. John Gannon also is supposed to interview tomorrow. And we're filming this
Hmm.
on Wednesday, so it'll be tomorrow on Thursday. Um, you know, my biggest thing, I don't really think they're going to get Flores, but if they did, it would be a slam dunk hire, especially when you go
Yeah.
young guy on the other side, on the offensive side of the ball. If you can get a guy like him who has the experience to really take over, his defenses are aggressive. Obviously, we got a taste of it when we were up in Minnesota and they didn't let the commander score a point. So clearly he knows what he's doing. He's very coveted. He is suing the league right now. So, like, him getting an NFL head coaching position might be difficult, but it's clear
Yeah.
that he's supposed to interview. He already interviewed with Baltimore. He's supposed to interview with Pittsburgh. What do you think? I mean, do you think the Commanders have an actual chance at this, or are you thinking they're just hoping that they can land this guy? Off the off chance he just wants to take a lateral position, from Minnesota to DC.
To be honest, as somebody who was able to kind of witness his creative play scheming for the defense,
Hmm.
I always say DC's always make the best head coaches because of
Hmm.
just the aggression
Hmm.
and the culture that they can bring to a team.
Sure.
But at the same time, I think in some way he is ready to be a head coach. I think that
Hmm.
that's his biggest desire. Now,
Hmm.
obviously, he's exploring his options as a coach as you should.
Yeah.
But and also too, like things could also be a money factor either way as well. Or location could be a factor. So, for me, I feel like if the Commanders were to hire him and get that underneath of their belt, that would definitely be an elite hire. He's
To
done
be a
some great
slam dunk,
things. Hmm.
absolute slam dunk. And
Yeah,
for
he's
the amount of like uncertainty that they have on the offensive side, they
yeah,
would have a lot of certainty on the defensive side. And I think the
absolutely.
worry, I mean, because especially who needs more of the help right now? Let's be real. The defense
Yeah,
needs more help.
yeah. The defense
I
definitely needs
I
more help.
love a lot of the guys on the defensive side of the ball as
Hmm.
people. But when it came to them performing, and I think the bigger problem that I had from last year or 2 years ago to last year was that they just regressed. You had a lot of guys like Quan Martin, unfortunately, just regressed. This guy looked so
Yeah,
good in that Detroit in the playoffs last year, and then this or 2 years ago, and then last year was like, yo, like this isn't the same guy. And so,
yeah,
maybe you can get more out of these players if you get somebody who, like Flores, who plays more of an
yeah,
aggressive scheme, can get the best out of his players overall. But they really need to hit a home run with this defensive hire, with taking a risk
yeah.
on Blau. You can't really take another risk on like some young guy on the defensive side of the ball
Hmm.
too. So, um,
Yeah, it's different though because if you think about it, if you think about the Commanders' defense this year,
mm-hmm,
I saw a little bit of both. I
sure,
saw I saw in terms of play scheming, yes, of course, that was definitely not the best.
yeah,
But there were because also too, even to have like guys like Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu so far up the field,
mm-hmm,
that's a problem. And we
mm-hmm,
did see that sometime throughout the season. But also too, although it is play scheming and player player placing, there's
mm-hmm.
also player execution to a certain degree that was an issue
Yeah,
from
100%.
guys some from guys like Quan Martin.
Oh yeah.
um Noah I didn't have a bad season, but he wasn't like a standout player.
Mm-hmm.
Mikey Samer still had a rough start to the
I
season.
mean, we can go through all the DBs specifically, especially the
Hmm.
corners, because like we said, the talent level, even with Marshawn. I mean, Marshawn had
Hmm.
maybe his best game in Kansas City when
Yeah,
DQ took over, and then I think the next week was the Seattle game, and he got hurt and he was done. So
yeah,
it's like it's sad we couldn't see if that would have made a change with DQ
exactly.
calling the plays, but ultimately, like guys like him, there are people who just did not perform at the level that we were hoping to see, and
Right.
yeah, it's disappointing. It's one of these things where my biggest thing is like people like Johnny Newton. Like he played pretty well in the last couple games of the year, but before
Yeah.
that, it was kind of like, yo, this was a guy who won Big Ten defensive player of the year. He
Hmm.
was literally supposed to be a top 15 draft pick, but since he had a knee issue, he dropped down to the second round, and they thought they got a steal with him, and it has not turned out to be
Yeah.
what we were hoping. So it's just they need to get the most out of these guys. They spend a lot of capital on defense. You know what I mean? When it comes to getting people here,
Right.
a lot of draft capital in the last couple of years. We need to see more of that. And there
Yeah.
just wasn't a lot of guys that performed well all year. I would say like somebody like Jeremy Reeves played out of his mind this year. I felt like he played
Yes, he did.
excellently. But you had a lot of guys that just didn't live up. I mean, Luvu was kind of absent this year, right? Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
I still believe in Luvu. The way Luvu played in that first year, we need to see more of the guys and the way they played in that first year playing the second year.
Yeah.
You know,
I still believe in
Mikey's one
Louisville
of
as
those.
well.
Luvu, yeah. I mean, there's some guys that I think are really talented people. They just need to get back to where they were
Yeah.
before, and maybe that's where the change
Yeah.
comes with a new coach that maybe can get them there. So
Yeah. And for
I mean,
Mikey too,
yeah, go ahead.
he plays better on the outside.
He
Like
did play
I
much
was
better on the
I
outside.
was like, why wasn't he there from the beginning? But also
But
at
it's
the same
weird, right?
time,
Because we saw
they
in
were
training camp,
exploring
this
more
guy was
things.
in training camp. He was out of control. Like, I mean, honestly, we were thinking
Yeah.
we when we talked about who had the best camp, we literally said Mikey was one of them. Like, it was like three
Yeah.
people, and Mikey was definitely one of them. And I would have argued he probably
Yeah.
had the best
Yeah,
camp.
we were hyping the defense
We
up, but
oh
also
man,
I
I
had
mean,
to put myself into perspective of like the offense was just they weren't gelled in yet. Especially
yeah,
since it took
they
Terry.
didn't.
Even Terry admitted on locker room cleanout, he was like, I know things haven't been the best, especially with my absence. And that
Sure,
is true. I feel like that posed and I was worried about that,
yeah.
of that posing a great effect on this team and the
Yeah.
offense because that put more pressure on Debo and some of the younger wide receivers that were on this team. And then also, too, just in general, it put a lot of pressure on Jaden because he's passing to a lot of guys that he necessarily wasn't passing to before. So
Yeah.
it was just like, the offense wasn't together. So that's
Yeah.
why the defense showed up and showed out during camp.
Yeah.
Now, obviously too we got to see stints throughout the season and player development and who's developed who hasn't, but I will say the defense is the biggest question mark for this team, not just in coaching but also too in just what players do they need to step up. We've seen also too with the linebacker position, is Bobby going to come back for another season, or are we going to have are we going to see more of Jordan McGee
Mm-hmm.
and or Kane Madrano step up?
Mm-hmm.
Those are things that are up for discussion. But
Yeah.
I still believe in Luvu. I do believe that a lot of the DBs were out of place or weren't in their spots.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms, there were some moments where player execution was questioned for
Yeah.
sure.
They need more depth. We can't deny. I mean, we
Hmm.
saw I tweeted something about the 49ers and how they've lost a
Hmm.
lot of good players,
Yes.
Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, and they're still, Ayuk hasn't played at all, but they're still able to win games. I mean, look, they beat the Eagles in Philly. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, wow, it's kind of crazy with all the people they lost that they're still having success, right? So the thing is, they need better coaching and better depth. And I'm hoping that they can do both of those. And look, with the moves that they made by letting go of Joe Witt, by going separate
Yes.
ways with Cliff, I think they're moving in that direction. I just hope that the people that they're bringing in can do that. And if they can really, I mean, honestly, if they hit on Brian Flores, I think everybody will be ecstatic because the
That would
fact
be
of the matter is
amazing.
that it'd just be a home run hire for them. Honestly, a home
Yeah.
run hire, and I think
Yeah.
the optimism will go straight back up. I think there's a
Yeah.
little bit of people who are not sure about DQ, and I hate that for him because we interact with him. Really, really nice guy.
Really good guy.
Just really good person. We understand why people will run through a wall for that guy. But at the same time, results matter.
Yeah.
And last year, for how well he did last year, I understand the hate that he's getting for this past season.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, it went from A plus to F, I guess, or D, whatever you want to say.
I'd
And
say, yeah, I'd
yeah, I mean,
say,
what's your grade?
yeah.
What's your grade for I mean, I obviously first year was A plus. I mean, you're
Yeah.
one game away from the Super Bowl. You really can't hate on a first year coach doing
Yeah.
that. First, first owner, first GM, first year coach, first year quarterback. It was incredible. So, what is your grade for this year? For this season, what would you give them? And would it be different between offense and defense? I think they all are kind of the same. I would give a little bit better
Yeah.
grade for the offense, but not by
Yeah.
much.
The
But
offense has a C minus
okay,
because there's things that can be fixed. And obviously, I will say, although there were, and that's another thing too, is injuries played a huge factor into the season, but I will say that that was taken out of context just a little bit
hmm,
because obviously with injuries, yes, you're not always going to have the greatest bounce back, but then there were just some games where I'm just like, you're a starter. Like, play,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, you can
But
make excuses for a while, but
yeah,
they Minnesota game. Jaden was there, Terry was there, Beal
yeah,
was there. They scored
yeah,
0 points. Right,
yeah,
I'm saying, and as much as trust me, I use the injuries excuse a lot because of the
yeah,
fact
I
that
was too.
for
For a while,
offense,
like their
yeah.
injuries.
Oh, that's why I was so excited for Minnesota. Man, I was so excited for Minnesota. I was like, yo, the whole squad is back. I even made a little post on Twitter, 5 returns, all this kind of thing, and just leave it there. I was like, oh
Yeah, tell
man.
him not to do that
Oh
anymore.
yeah,
Like
no, I
anywhere
won't do
you
that
go,
anymore. No, I mean
post
honestly,
after.
whatever I did,
I'm
don't do
playing.
it. Everything I did last year, let's not do it again.
Yeah, he
We're
thinks
gonna
that
break.
jinxes exist, guys. So it's
Well, I'm a little stitious. You know what I'm
or
saying?
self
Like a little.
sabotaging. Okay, so no, I'll tell you a short story. So
Oh,
I think it's on
you
the
jinxed the
Wizards game.
Wizards. You jinxed the Wizards that day.
No, I did
I'm not.
not.
No,
I'm
you jinxed the
saying,
Wizards that day. They
no,
didn't win for
no.
10 more
As
games
some,
after that.
no, as somebody who's been to the Wizards games, as not necessarily as a fan who's been to the Wizards games, as a fan buying a ticket and
Mm-hmm.
going, that game that I was covering, it was kind of I'm not gonna say it was a full circle moment for me, but that was the first time. I've covered the Wizards for 2 years now. That was the
Mhm.
first time in 2 years that I saw a packed out Capital One, and it was just like everybody was on their feet and
Yeah,
clapping
but
and
wasn't it like?
together. That
But
was
who
the
are they
first time
playing?
I've
Who are
seen
they
that
playing? They
since
were playing
COVID.
somebody that brings a lot of fans there.
No, they
That's why I was.
weren't.
Who were
No,
they
they
playing? Do you
weren't.
remember who they were playing?
Um,
All I know is that you
it was
texted
like the
me and
Hornets or
Marcus.
something.
You texted me and
No, but
Marcus. It
I
was
was like,
like,
I
"Oh, the
did.
Wizards are winning," and I was like, "Yo, look, I've
No,
been to
but I
20
was like,
games."
but you, no,
It was the
I was
third. It was
not.
right before the third
First of
quarter. And I'm
all, if
telling
you go
you
back, I'm gonna go back
what.
and I'm gonna find it,
All
and
right.
maybe the next episode I will talk about it. But no, I was literally saying, I'm like, oh my goodness, the Wizards are winning and the atmosphere is great in here. And Abdullah goes so quick to be like, don't do that. You're going to jinx them. Watch now. They're going
Yeah,
to lose. Da, da, da.
because I know them. I
But the
know
Wizards
them.
all season have had stints. And I already knew like this was a
No, and I'm
possibility as
telling you,
well.
look, I'm gonna tell the people watching. This was before they started winning games. This was like earlier in the season when they were just horrible. And she was like, "Oh, look, they're winning." I was like, "All right, they ain't gonna win now." And then immediately after
I was
that, well,
hopeful.
you
There's
were
a difference. I
hopeful.
was hopeful.
She
You can't
jinxed
have
it.
no
She jinxed
hope
it.
around him or
Nah, you jinxed
nada.
it. You just jinxed it. And
I
they
did
didn't win for like
not.
10 more games after that. It was like a
Listen,
running joke in our
no,
group
I don't
chat.
want to hear
Running
that. I
joke.
don't want to hear
Nah.
that. No,
Nah.
because
They've
and
only been doing well because
and
you haven't
if
been
I
going
did that,
anymore. Don't
if
go
I
back.
did
You know what I'm
that,
saying? Yeah.
if I did that, then your excitement in Minnesota was a jinx. If I did that, your
Maybe.
excitement,
Maybe. I mean, look, I
maybe
like I said, maybe. All I know is
that's
that.
fine.
All I
Whatever,
know is that
whatever.
go.
Put
All
in
I
the
know is that
comments,
look.
nah, cause y'all know how he tweets. Y'all know how he tweets, and
What
it's
do I
like he'll be
tweet?
like, "Yeah, so excited, can't wait to get great shots," and then they didn't score any points.
Hey,
You
I got
hear
great
me?
shots still. No, I still got great shots. It just wasn't of them. That's the sad part. It wasn't of them. But that being said, no, look, I gotta cover the game appropriately. They didn't play
Anyways,
well. You know what I'm saying? But that being
whatever.
said, no, look, to like come full circle, you're not wrong though. Like I mean, the injuries was a factor. If
Mm.
Jaden played, we might have been talking about a completely different season
Oh
because
yeah, for
obviously
sure.
he never got really in a rhythm. The offense
Yeah.
really never got in a rhythm, and that's how it was throughout training camp. That's why Cliff was making comments at the end of training camp, like, "I need my guys here," because they just couldn't get into a rhythm. So I
But
agree. I
sometimes
wouldn't.
too,
Yeah.
not even to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
What killed me too a lot about this year in terms of Jaden was I just felt like, and I get it, Commanders fans, the patience is kind of low because
Oh,
of
they have no
everything that has
patience.
happened in this franchise. No, and I
Yeah.
get that and I love that because it's like, hold your team accountable to a certain
Yeah,
degree.
sure.
But at the same time, it's like some people are just not realistic. Like, be realistic at the fact that he's young
They
and
don't have
that,
patience. They need
yeah,
more patience. They need
they
more
need more
patience
patience.
because,
But
like
be
we've talked
realistic in
about.
the fact,
Yeah,
like,
go
I
ahead.
didn't like how sometimes, like, they'd be like, oh, like, we knew that this was the sophomore slump of Jaden. I'm
Yeah,
like,
like there's a
what
lot
are
of
we talking
people.
about here? Y'all didn't
There's
know
a
anything.
There's a lot of people who are jumping off the Jaden bandwagon, including
Yeah,
some of
they're
the
like,
people who
see
covered this
ya.
team, including some of these people who covered the team who are really
Right.
like, "Oh, Drake May, they should have drafted Drake May."
I
Look, I'm
know,
not
but
knocking Drake. Drake May is
everybody.
good. I'm not knocking Drake May.
Or
Drake May is
do
good.
y'all
I
see
like Drake
Caleb
May
Williams
a
right
lot.
now?
Yeah, and also, but I would even today, I would still take Jaden over those two. If you take the injuries
Absolutely.
aside, because I agree, the one thing that I'm only concerned about is that Jaden is frail, and I need him to protect himself.
Yeah.
If that and granted, like people get hurt, we forget this is the NFL. He didn't get
Now he
hurt at
just
all the
announced
year
today.
before. Yeah,
Now
he's
he
going to
just
Saudi
announced
Arabia.
today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
for
And
the
everybody's
flag
like,
football.
I saw like the first call was like, why are we more worried about the young guy not getting hurt versus the old guy? Because Tom
Yeah,
Brady's
Tom
supposed to
Brady
play in it
was
too.
like,
Yeah,
Tom Brady was like getting approved from his mom. I'm like,
exactly.
okay,
No, I
yeah,
mean, look, if Jaden is healthy, I promise you, like I would
yeah,
put a lot of money on he'll be better than the two other guys
absolutely.
at
I
the end
think
of the
so
day,
too.
at the end of their
And he's,
careers. I really
yeah,
believe that, and so I'm just like, you know what? That's why I've kind of ignored the hate. It's annoying, but it's kind of like,
yeah,
look, we got to wait and see because I'm one of these people who just let the people prove to us what they are. If Jaden's
it's super
injury prone,
annoying.
He'll prove
But
that. If he's good, he'll prove that. So like I don't need to
yeah,
yell at anybody for it. But there's a lot of people who've jumped off and kind of feeling a different type of way. And it's like, all right, just for me, keep that energy, stay on that side. That's
yeah,
kind of how I feel about
keep
it.
that keep
But
that over there.
yeah, exactly. Just just stay there. Don't come back. Don't come back. If he balls out next year, we don't want to hear it. We don't want to see
Yeah,
you
I
coming
feel the
back
same
here.
about. I'm gonna
Yeah,
say this now. I feel the same about Luke McCaffrey too.
same
Like, keep
thing.
that energy over
Well, no,
there.
now people like Luke McCaffrey, right? Remember at the beginning? Yeah, exactly.
No,
That's why
I
you're
still
frustrated. But
in the
that's why you're
middle of the
frustrated.
season. In the middle of the season, like once he got injured, like I was getting a bunch of comments like, "See, we said so." No, I don't want to hear that. That's
No,
not
people,
realistic.
people. That
Again,
look, that's the thing. The thing is Luke is a perfect example of patience because after 1 year last year, everybody's
hmm
like, Luke ain't, he's not worth it. Like, let's get rid of him. Blah
yeah,
blah blah. Then we saw he turned into a good kick returner,
hmm
and he actually had like multiple games where he was scoring touchdowns. All of a
yes.
sudden, people are like, "Yo, Luke is not bad." And it's like, yeah, how about you
hmm
let somebody develop? We don't let
Now I
anybody
will say
develop any
this year
day
too,
anymore.
even outside of Luke and Jalen, they are gonna have to, I would say, rethink little things on special teams, and then also too just like not punt returns, field goals. But
Yeah.
obviously, because obviously they brought Moody back, and like that was a great decision, and got rid
Yeah.
of Matt Gay after what happened in Spain.
Your boy Matt Gay. You hated Matt Gay the whole time he was
I
here.
didn't hate
You
him.
hated
I
him
think
the
he was a nice
whole
guy,
time he
but
was
it
here.
was just like,
No, I know, but like play wise, you wanted somebody to come in and they wanted competition and you wanted him to lose that competition and get the heck out.
I
And to be
sure
honest,
did.
you're not wrong. Like because it didn't work out.
I
And
knew
you
he was
guys
going
you
to
saw it from
lose.
the jump.
That was a
Yeah.
game, and I knew that it was going to take, because it took them too long to get this together. I just knew that their
hmm
pride was so strong because of how much they paid him, that it was just like, we
It's
got to
there
keep him now. And it's like,
the
no, you don't,
Well, this is
for the
where
sake of the
I'm
team.
gonna give DQ kudos, a little bit of kudos, because the thing that we are seeing is DQ is very loyal to his people. Like he
Okay,
brings people
yes.
in, and he's very loyal. So for him to let go of Wit and to go different ways with Cliff, I'm gonna give him a little kudos, even though it was like absolutely needed. But
Okay,
I'm
I
gonna give him a little
will.
kudos for making those decisions and going in a different way and taking
hmm
chances, taking risks. Because
Yeah, because,
he sometimes I think that would be the negative that I would have for DQ is that like he's such a nice guy that's like
hmm
sometimes it's like oh well I don't want to be mean and I don't want to cut this guy like dog if they're not performing they're not performing like
I
you
told you
gotta
around
make moves.
Thanksgiving. I said DQ is too nice, and I said I
Yeah.
don't want. I said I feel like, I'm not going to say people were taking advantage of his niceness, but I always felt like, in terms of Adam Peters and DQ and just the dynamic that they've built here in Washington in the last 2 years, that it was just like, okay, we're going to stay loyal. We're going to do what we
Yeah.
need to do. But also, too, Adam even hinted, especially when they were like in the midst of like stuff happening, he hinted like, nah, I got to do what I got to do. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, do it, because
I
we're
think I
seeing
think
some.
I think AP is cutthroat. Like I don't
I
think
think
DQ is cutthroat. I think AP
Yeah,
is
I think
cutthroat, which
AP
is
is,
why I
but
think
that's
that
why
this
you need
happened.
that
Yeah,
though.
you need
But
that.
that's
Yeah, like
why
and
it's
that if
perfect
he's
that
good
way.
cop, bad cop, that's fine. I really like DQ, man. I really hope that
hmm
he has success here. I hope he wins the Super Bowl. He was this close to winning a Super Bowl. We all know
hmm
what happened in that game. So like ultimately for me, I'm a big fan of his. I hope the success comes, but I also do know that you have to make tough decisions, which is why I'm not a coach
Yeah,
because like I would struggle with that. You know what I mean? Like the
yeah,
same loyalty, being nice with people, I had that same issue. But when you're trying to win games and the guys are not performing, you got to make moves. And
yeah,
so I'll give him kudos for that, whether it's him or a mix of him and AP making those moves. I'm just glad that they are
yeah,
making changes because what we saw last year had to be adjusted. We could not continue to see that being the
yeah.
same thing next year also.
But also too, one thing I will say about DQ that I've learned over the last 2 years, and he probably did this too at his other teams, which is why he got hired again.
hmm
The way that he observes player development is
hmm
spot on.
hmm
Like, in terms of, you can ask him about anybody on that team, and obviously people are going to be like, oh, but that's the job of a head coach. Really? We wouldn't see 9 or 10 teams firing head coaches if that was so spot on. So,
hmm
for me, it's just like, DQ acknowledges the loyalty. And that's, I think, what stimulates the culture too in Washington. But also, you know, he does a great job at, you know, looking around and observing. He may not say everything all
Hmm.
the time, but he does a good job of observing of where people need to be, how things need to be. And
I
to a
think,
point where
yeah.
I wanted him mid-season to be upset. I wanted him mid-season to be like, we just had, like, excuse my language, but we just had a fucked up game.
Yeah.
I wanted him to say that. I wanted
Yeah.
him to express that. Not because of a media purpose, but as a coach. Because
I
at some
you
point
gotta
I was
hope
like,
that
he's
he's
nice.
doing. Yeah, you gotta hope he's doing that in the locker room. You know what I mean? Because we
Mm-hmm.
do know he curses, right? Like he'll drop
Yeah.
some f bombs, and I like that because I feel like that's
Yeah.
being real. I curse a good amount, and it's usually when I'm being very honest. And so
Yeah.
I think that the one thing about him, there's a reason why people love work. He just seems pretty genuine. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and I think he wants all these guys to succeed because, as you can see, when he was talking about Quan Martin, he mentioned like Quan didn't play very well towards the end of the year, and they had to bench
No,
him a
he
couple
didn't.
times. And he mentioned that they had to do that, but then he also was like, "But we love Quan, and we want him to succeed." So like, I'm all for
Mm-hmm.
that. That's basically for me the type of guy, the type of leader that you want. Somebody who's gonna be with you, but also keep it real with you when you're not
Yeah.
playing well. And I just need more of that. So I'm a believer. I know there are
Mm-hmm.
people just like how people are jumping off the ship for Jaden. There are a lot of people jumping off the ship for
Yeah.
DQ. I'm not that. But I also
Yeah, I'm not
understand why.
either.
I understand why people are. I'm not that, and maybe it's because we actually see him, we actually have a relationship with him. That it maybe we feel more like, hey, we really want him to succeed. I actually believe that he's a good coach. I do.
Yeah, I
I
do as
understand
well.
why some people are questioning it, but I believe it. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Um.
And there's still a lot
So,
of football to be played, like in
oh,
order
it's
to
been two
observe
seasons. It's been
what
two
decision that
seasons.
is,
Yeah, it's
It's
been two
been two
seasons,
seasons.
and like we said, it was like I think when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
grades, like yeah, it was an A plus first year,
Yeah.
and it was just a bad like a D plus, a D,
Yeah.
score on the next year, and yeah, the average
Mm-hmm.
right now is like C plus maybe like C to C
Yeah.
plus, like it's not great, but like hopefully
It's
we
better
can get
than
back to
most.
next
It's
year.
better
Yeah,
than most. And
it is,
like
but
we've
if
seen like recently, like we've seen, like, when you're firing a coach, obviously,
mhm,
you fire him when he doesn't get the job done or
yeah,
through a major decision that shifted the entire momentum of the organization and its
mhm,
pathway to the
mhm,
Super Bowl,
yeah,
obviously. And it's like from the firings that we've seen, like McDaniel, Kevin Stefanski, you know, DQ hasn't even hit that marker yet. So it's like,
but he has one
give the
more
guy
year.
a
Well,
chance.
that's
Give
why
the guy.
he has one more year to
Yeah,
do
pretty
because like
much.
if he does another if he has another D effort year, he's gone. And
That's
I'm
why I
sad that
said there's a
I
lot of football to still
oh
be
there's
played to
yeah he
observe
this
that.
this next year is gonna be very 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 like crucial to DQ. If anybody has a lot of pressure,
Hmm.
it is DQ. Everybody else I think is fine. Jaden's fine. I think AP's fine.
Hmm.
DQ got a lot of pressure on him. So,
Yeah.
anyways, look, my camera might die, so like we're gonna have to wrap
Oh,
this up. Yeah, I know, right? You would think that I would have charged my camera being a cameraman, but
yeah, Mr. Tech over here. I'm gonna
exactly.
start calling
So,
him Mr. Best Buy.
yo,
Mr.
that's my
Best
favorite
Buy.
store. It's the best store. I'm sorry. I'm not. Don't let me go on a tangent about Best Buy. I love Best
Was
Buy.
that a pun?
Anyways,
Was that a pun?
no, it's not actually, but it is my favorite store. It's by far my favorite store. Anyways, look, what I wanted to discuss just before we let go is just, yeah, look, we love everybody who's rock with us, and we're still growing this channel. We're still
Hmm.
growing, everything at Win Sports. Please check out Skylar's stories. Obviously, check out our photos. Me, Marcus, Skylar shoots as well. Jonay, but we don't just cover the Commanders. We cover a lot of different teams.
Yes, we
Obviously
do.
Trey Young's in town. We've been following the Wizards. We are following, Howard. We follow the Maryland
Yes.
women. We follow a lot of different teams, and so we also want this channel
Yes.
to reflect that also. So I'm going to probably do a little bit more. Obviously, football stuff. We're not going away with football videos. I'll be doing some stuff on my own. Maybe deep
Hmm.
diving into free agency and draft stuff because I love that kind of off season stuff. Obviously, Skylar will join me on some of those, but Skylar will also be doing some some videos on, obviously Wizards and other sports that are happening. Baseball's coming back, City Open, all of that. World Cup's going to happen at some point, so we can talk about different things overall. But we just want to say thank you for everybody who joins us. If you like what we're doing and want to continue to see our growth and get more content, obviously like and subscribe. But yeah, Skylar, did you have anything before we say goodbye here?
Just keep tuning in. I think one of the biggest things that, we've been tapping into, and that makes what we're building so unique is the fact that we're not only just trying to cover the Commanders, we're trying to bring y'all Wizards spirit, even Caps,
Yeah.
DC
Yeah.
United. There's so many different opportunities, even tapping into high school sports in the DMV. Like
Yeah.
we are working to, provide the best content as possible. And,
For
as
sure.
we continue to grow and continue to learn, there's so many opportunities out there and so many different, things to touch on. I think, us starting with the Commanders was a great start because, obviously the Commanders are out there and, we
Yeah.
want to, keep that on
That's
everybody's
the
radar
number
as
one
much as
team here.
possible.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
So,
And plus too, we got a lot of updates coming. So,
for
make sure
sure.
that you're following us, not just on YouTube, but on Instagram. We have Twitter, following our personal Twitter pages because that's where we post the most, just staying
Yeah,
in tune
true.
with us. We're trying to get more on TikTok. Like that's gonna
Yeah.
be like, the thing that, we want to bring this all to full circle,
Yeah.
bring it all together. So,
Yeah. New
stay
year
stay
for
tuned for
us,
the journey,
obviously.
stay on the ride.
Yeah. Yeah, New Year for us. We're just jumping in.
Yeah.
We feel like this is the beginning. I'm really excited.
Mm-hmm.
Skylar's a youngin. You know what I mean? I'm a little older, but she got a lot of. She's real spry. She's gonna have a lot of energy to go
Abdullah
to a lot
Unk
of
over
different
here.
places. Yeah, sorry, I
Unk
got
over
uncle
here.
vibes, right? Yeah, but we definitely got some other people that are involved, and we're gonna try to do more interviews and stuff with players, and kind of give you as much
Yeah, we have a
content
lot of
and
stuff
information as
up our
possible.
sleeve.
So. Okay. All
Yep.
right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right. Peace.